Right now, I feel like Randy Orton taking the stage, taking the arena, taking the ring. Gotta strike that epic pose with the arms out to the side as we get ready for another beautiful day coming into the open. So, what's up? What's up? Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to another live session. Of course, as you're tuning in on YouTube, remember that day trading is risky. Our disclaimer is always up at the start of every show, just to remind the newer traders to the channel that it is risky. You should not use money that you do not have. It's all about going slower in the beginning, utilizing simulators and or risk money to practice and improve before exposing yourself to a ton of risk. Copy trading does not work, of course. Remember that my results are not typical. And lastly, I do not invest for my subscribers. All right, so be careful of fake accounts. Relentless trader will never message you first. Yeah, I did notice that Ross is live on YouTube. However, the people's champion is also live and direct. And as you can see here from proof in the chat room, look, here's my evidence, right? Oh, this is hilarious. The chat room is kind of soft right now, though. Looks like a lot of people might be listening to Ross. We only have 2 people in our room here, but here's a look at the chat, right? Can hold up. Let me stretch this thing properly. Here's a look at the chat right here. There we go. Proof. RT's voice is much better than Ross anyway, right? There you have it. Boom. Pastor. Okay, 2 stocks. Being that there's this Cloudflare issue, there are some websites that are down, including the Day Trade Dash website. So I'm actually utilizing my Thinkorswim for charts. I thought my account would have been closed down already. Surprisingly, I might have a couple more days or something because it's still up and running for charts at least. There is CANF and OLMA. If not, I'm so used to the Charles Schwab charts that if it wasn't for this one, E-Trade Pro also is no more. The powered by E-Trade platform, I'm still trying to get a little bit more familiar with it. And I do not like the charts on, um, you know, DAS Trader software, whether through Sage or Guardian. So it probably would have been Webull charts, and the Webull charts I think are quite terrible. I don't know. I'm just not used to it. Maybe. So 2 stocks. We got 11 minutes to the bell. So I do want to check out the daily chart on those 2 stocks. And then after that, I want to remind myself of a couple of the key things that we spoke about yesterday. There are a couple of things that we need to continue to work on so that the discipline continues to compound and we continue to improve here slowly and steadily, day by day. So with that being said, I'm just going to quickly take a look here at CANF on the daily chart. Let's see here. I'm going to, how do I want to do this? I can detach and then I can go down to one cell and then time frame, maximum time frame. Going back over the course of one day. Right now we're at 55 cents. And it doesn't seem like there's any real resistance. We've been selling off though. It's been fairly weak over the last few weeks, few months. But nothing super obvious in terms of topping wicks or areas where we might reject easily. So, with a pre-market high of 72 cents, we're back down around 55 cents. Maybe there's a chance this one can open up and retest those levels. As mentioned, we've been seeing cheaper stocks as of recent do well, give some sort of a move, even if it's a brief move, versus stocks that are between $1 and $10, which we, typically see something. We're not really seeing much on those opportunities. So, and coming back to yesterday again, we really got to be careful of the side stocks. The side stocks is where I lost money on really yesterday. Two trades and two bigger losses, giving back about $500 off the top, which wasn't really good. So, if it's not one of our main big boy stocks, if they don't really prove like a high level of follow through, we're not going to get involved. And that might mean missing a trade to see if the stock is actually worth it, right? Which we'll be willing to do here today, just having a little bit more tightness in terms of what we're looking at. So daily chart here on OLMA. So this one went from $7 or so yesterday up to 38, 38.69. I'm gonna mark this out on the other screen here quickly. 38.69 for pre-market highs. This one could end up being interesting, right? We had a massive move. It's up over 200%. We're currently holding up the VWAP around 25 or so. It's curling up a little bit. And on the daily chart here, we'll have to go back all the way to like the IPO date, really. And even here, I'd say there's nothing super obvious. Higher volume candlestick here. What is this? March of, I forget where you check the year. March of 2021, right? It's like a way back. All-time highs on the IPO was 60.27, which, could be worth it. Could be interesting, rather, if it does curl up. Although we have a ways to go to get back over the pre-market highs. So this is like back of the mine potential here. 48.14. That was that higher volume day. So, just in case it comes up, sometimes short sellers might look at levels like that to potentially short against. But definitely a very impressive move here coming all the way up like this. It seems like the support is strictly from VWAP because nothing here indicates 25 would be super strong. So I think that's all that the daily chart is giving here. 6 minutes to go, which means it's time to turn on my screen recording. I'll turn on another OBS. Let me grab my notebook here. Something that I didn't do a great job of last week was watching at stocks very aggressively, or let's just say very closely, for potential trades right into the open. We did a good job of that yesterday. Today we need to do the same. So let's see. Careful of dips when it comes to size, your stop loss, and how you want to scale into the trade. Again, we're similar to last week, the week before. We definitely got to be careful about that. And also, if we're pulling back very aggressively, I got to be careful of getting in before major levels such as the VWAP, because sometimes, if we're too soon, we can be stopped out of the trade before we really get that nice support, right? So previous candlesticks, previous highs, we're just going to leave those alone and really wait for those bigger levels such as VWAP in the wider dips. When stocks are dipping as well, right? Even if it's a setup that we're not looking to trade right away on the way down or like a quick scalp, we want to be paying attention on the way back up for the potential red to green. That way we can position ourselves. Today, of course, we can't afford to have any issues looking away at the broker and doing things in the broker. And I think we'll have a really good day here. Avoid the falling knife. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. You know, trading, when you really think about what trading is, right? It's not really rocket science. What the things I listed there are very simple, right? Right. Well, what is important though right now is following through with these rules into the open. Candlesticks are candlesticks. Pay attention to the candlesticks. Be aggressive in the areas where it makes the most sense when it comes to risk to reward, limited downside risk, high upside potential. Hey, this thing looks like we're holding a tight support, but we have a good room going to a new high, you know? So in those areas, we have to be firm, we have to be confident to jump in, take the trade, manage our risk, have our stop loss in place, and let the stock do its thing. You know, the stock will take care of the rest in every one of these situations. And even when we get stopped out for a loss, you know, as long as we're doing a good job keeping our stop tight, getting out where we need to get out, we should have nothing to worry about here, right? So with that being said, you know, there's 2 minutes 44 seconds to a great day here, right? Now, for those of you who've already been trading pre-market, I guess the day has already started a while ago, but at least for those of us coming into the open, OLMA, I could trade with the other platforms. CANF, though, because penny stocks have been proving themselves to be so strong recently, I think I'll watch this one into the open. There's a 2 minute warning. Guys, as you're tuning in on YouTube, be sure to hit the thumbs up. We do appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. And if you're a new viewer, consider subscribing to the channel. I do want to be a little bit more careful when it comes to the screen. You know, we've been having a lot of issues with the half screen being on. So we got to be a little careful here. Right now, we're just going to straight full screen and go from there. In terms of setups, CANF, we're not quite at the pre-market highs. We have a bit of a midpoint at 62. So we're somewhat at lows. We might not see immediate reaction. If that doesn't happen, I think that's fine. The other one, OLMA, you know, we have what it seems to be like a small double top at 28.40. So we'll see if 25 is maybe able to hold up on that one for the support still. But CANF definitely my number one stock here to start. Just remember, guys, day trading is risky. Hit that thumbs up and let's rock and roll. 35 seconds. OLMA, I'm going to take a starter. Oh, wrong hotkey. Okay. It did hold up the VWAP again at 25, which was fairly interesting there. Coming back. Lows were 53 here. We got a high now of 56 on the current candle. Not much over 58 here. Okay, slow and steady. It's slow and steady here so far. It's off to a decent start. It is still a little early. Watching the first pullback here to see how well it can hold up. Oh, okay. That is not going to hold up. Say $360 loss. Okay. We'll see if it's able to hold up to curl back up over the PWAP maybe. The other one is halted down, by the way. And the resumption could be interesting. For a red to green bounce. There's 3 minutes to that resumption. A little disappointed with CANF not holding up, but it's still pretty early. Maybe it's able to recover over time. Oh, LMA, 2 minutes and 30 seconds to resumption. It looks Interesting. Will it hold the first pullback though? After this bit of a red to green here. Oh, LMA, I'll miss. I'll keep watching CANF. The dip is much tighter than I would have expected. Yeah, I can never get that extra cent fill. I'm like always getting a cent slippage. I gotta sell a little faster, maybe. Will we get through the high here? So far, we got a bit of a flat top. Once, if we're to break out, we need it to hold up. If it pulls back, you know, it's just not gonna be as strong. If we're strong, we should see like 65 over time. Oh, is that 57? It's kind of dicey. I'm getting a little bit of chop. It might be like a late bloomer. I mean, it's here. It's not quite dropping, but we're not really going. So I'm hoping it's like a late bloomer. If it does end up pulling back, then, maybe it just doesn't have it. Not getting the best fills. Time. Time looks okay. It could just be a false breakout, and the stock could be finished here off that 58 level. So hopefully we get another red to green. It's a good looking bull flag we had there too. We definitely got a little bit of work to do, right? After that first big loss, especially. It's like the second bigger flush out that is almost immediately back up. And no micros in there. Not anything really, big as like a cent or close to a cent. Oh yeah, I forgot I had these blue light glasses. So the better moves are coming like after like a massive dump, which is fine. And we're getting dumps in areas where the stock looks good for breakouts too. Damn, bro, trying to get the fills or it's brutal. Come on. Well, it hasn't been great here so far. This stock has been good off the lows, but we haven't really seen like a good, you know, a good uptrend. Trying to not catch the falling knife on the way down. And so once we do start to bounce, it's a little tough to jump in on the first candlestick. Second candlestick is coming up pretty high relative to the lows. You know, hard to gauge if we're going to get some continuation out of this type of candlestick. You know, likewise we hear. And there's really not that much. Maybe like a cent and a half there. This one a little bit better since we had this push and more of a consolidation. I'm thinking maybe to wait until it gets over the highs, if it does at all. Maybe it doesn't, but the other one didn't hold up at all, really. Guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. It looks like Marcelo might have had some technical difficulties, probably couldn't stream. And you know, I still think it's a fair day for to see something else, but yeah, it's just where the opportunities came on this one here, you know. So are we gonna see another big red to green here again? We took a $380 loss on this red candle, which kind of set the tone, sadly, in the opposite direction here. What's better for me on these red candles is if we're to see a bear flag. But you know, when the red to green is very sharp and aggressive, sometimes it's a little bit more tough to be in if you're not already looking for that bottom. LOBO is sharp, it's aggressive, and a little extended as well. Gotta be careful here of pullbacks. 49 to 59. So I'd consider this a side stock for now. I mean, it does look decent, so 50% volume is coming in. But I want to make sure it doesn't just, hey, back down to 50. So gonna play it slow here. We're already a bit red, so I do like that we held up that big green candle. The pre-market high is 61. I wouldn't mind seeing a pullback. I'm just gonna throw out a starter, smaller size. See if it's able to hold up high. Can we see over 60? Oh, their buyers are coming in. 62. A lot of these moves are still requiring an even longer hold time. It's like another minute there to 65. Not really getting many micros. It's like it moves so slowly that by the time it starts to pull back, it feels like the move is actually over, but that's not the case at all. Good trade, too small of size. Highs are at 65, 2. Bro. Time? Trying one more time for the dip at 60. Oh my goodness. Well, this one definitely is extended, so. How well can we do off the red to green there? Watching for sharp pullbacks in the move up. Okay. Okay. Oh my god, bro. The speed of which the stock moves is just ridiculous. I got out early there because I wasn't comfortable with the higher fill. And then it goes. Oh, yeah, yeah. I probably still need to just hold that first entry even longer, you know? Instead of taking 3 trades, maybe just bring that down to 1, hold longer. It's flirting with the highs right here, flirting with the highs. All right. I gotta hold a little longer early with more size. That's the biggest adjustment here so far. Waiting for my chance here again. And this time, certainly. And it's just straight up. See, with these type of, like that type of like 3 cent boost, like there's just no way I'm gonna be able to get in. Come on. Do I want to fish I might have to try like fishing the bottoming, the falling knife at this rate to be in before the red to green even starts. And that is of course risky with the flushes if it does flush out hard. Man. I gotta just, okay, alright, fine. This is a little bit of a higher entry, so maybe taking the 1 cent there is not a bad idea. Because we could easily reject back down to 60 flush. If we can hold up our previous support, you know, I think it's pretty interesting. If this one is able to hold up the previous support, it's going to be looking pretty prime. Time to put on my big boy pants and size up. Give me a sweet move. And I'm going to be in. Taking the first starter, 65. Well, there's 63 already. Might not be able to add here. So let's see if it's able to hold up the previous support. Watching. But definitely got to be careful because, again, the risk is a bigger flush out, right? Does it sink shot immediately? It doesn't look like it. Nope. So again, this is the risk, a bigger flush out. Keeping it tight though. VWAP is a little lower, 58. Watching VWAP area here. There might be a panic flush entry. That might be about it. Unless it's overshooting the landing zone by a ton. No bounce. No bounce. No bounce. So I gave in to trying for a falling knife red to green style trade, and it is in the slums. Well, there's going to be a bounce at some point, but I think my mental capital in trying to get it is cooked. Well, this is going to be a bigger red day here. The biggest red day of the month, maybe. I think. Down was 480 plus 98. 700, let's say. 600, 650. Down 600 today. Not ideal. I think we call it a max loss. A max loss day. A lot of the bigger moves came off of the red to green. And I think for me, just, a bit of a longer hold time. Like in a trade like this, I'm taking I'm long in a good area around 60, but I'm taking like 62 exit, like right here. But we kind of get, another 2 minutes to 65. Didn't get any bottoms because we were waiting for the red to green, except of course in the one area where we don't. Right, as we mentioned, we're gonna try we're gonna try the falling knife to catch the bottom to get the red to green from the start, but of course that's the area where the stock is literally tanking, right? They would have worked well in these other areas here, right, towards the lower wicks of these candlesticks. Aye, aye, aye. That's some interesting timing. The day trader timing for you right there. But I think maybe giving into that wasn't good. Ultimately we probably should have just kept waiting for the red to green. It just seemed like that was the trend because whenever a green candle would come, it's just up so much so quickly that being in anywhere low just wasn't like a possibility. We're getting like a 3 cent jump almost instantly off the red to green. Typically, if you're in lower, it's easier to hold longer as well. And the bounce finally comes at 656 for 3 cents. Tragic, tragic, tragic. This is going to give back quite a bit of gains here. LFS, if you're having a nice day and you say, hey, I don't mind risking, 300 of my 1K gain, maybe you can use size relative to that amount. But already having a max loss day, I think trying to go for a stock like LFS is a little too risky for me here. I think this one is just a little too risky to volume, a little lighter. It's halted up. Spreads could be pretty big. Volume could be light on the resumption as well, which will make it a little bit more difficult to connect. So I think I'll pass on this one. Our other watch list stock, which was OLMA. This one didn't do it well into the open here. Sold off. The pre-market. OLMA. This one was more pre-market. Not a bad day. Just we kind of got caught in one area that resulted in 50% or more of the losses, which was the big first red candle on the other stock, and then some paper cuts that added up. I guess to end off where we just ended off wasn't really good either, right? We could have stayed to course and not try to get that bottoming candlestick, and we could have saved ourselves maybe like another $80 there or $100. The risk with taking the panic flush is that the flush just keeps dropping. The reward is it ends up being a tighter pullback and you're in like, virtually the bottom. And then you can see what it does. Whether you want to take the quick scalp or give it more time, you have the option. LFS moving up a little more. How much volume did we gain there? We gained a good amount. Yeah, it's still looking pretty thin liquidity wise. That was brutal right there. False halt up into a halt down just like that. Yeah, this is my cue to take the L, take the lesson, hold what I got, and be back next time. Again, in summary, most of the stronger moves on the penny stocks came off of red to greens, which were up very quickly the moment the bottom was in, making it a little harder to be in on those candlesticks higher and holding all the way back up, right? Because, at the end of the day, we never really know how far the stock will go. So we're typically gauging the lows as like a benchmark. And, the closer we're into that level, the more freedom we'll have in the trade to give it time. But buying the higher end of the candlestick, where we're already up so much off the lows, just tough to say if we'll retest the highs or if we'll maybe go another cent and a half and stall out, right? So I was taking that cent and a half profits and didn't really get to hold for that bigger move. And then we got caught in some flushes. So not a bad day, but in terms of like follow through from the stocks, especially at the highs for a good uptrend, we didn't really see much of that. If we saw more bear flags off the lows, we could have had a better day. That would have gave us time to get into the setup and then ride the wave back up. But yeah, hopefully you guys were able to get something here in the chat, and likewise on the YouTube stream. Early day. Is there any questions? I mean, the market conditions recently, I think, have been decent. It's just definitely better for longer holds and, not so, it's not that great for like the quick scalps that we used to do. The longer holds are what's key right now that, once you're sound and dialed into it, you can print every day like usual. It has been slower overall though, right, in comparison to previous days, previous months. We've seen, I think like 2 months ago, we had 2 days where, or a month and a half ago maybe, where stocks went from 5 to 17 like back to back. we're not really seeing that right now, but I think for what we are seeing from the penny stocks, there is enough there to do well. Um, a day like today, a little bit more tricky though, I'd say. Yesterday we had more of the uptrends. Today, if you're not in at that low, it's just tougher to capture that wave going up. But I don't think the market conditions are terrible. Like I've seen worse than this. Like I remember I came in like 2, 3 weeks straight. This is like earlier though, like 2018, 2019, I think 2019. And there was nothing like I mean nothing. Like there wasn't even a gap scan. And there was like no breaking. It almost felt like there was like a depression or something in the economy. But the economy was perfectly fine at that time, you know? We had like nothing for 2 weeks straight. If we looked at charts back then, it would look like this. Like if you look at LFS yesterday, that's how every chart was looking for 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row before finally like a moving stock came again. Do I still consider myself profitable? Well, of course. My 650,000 didn't disappear. Now, am I consistently making money every single day? The answer is no, right? In terms of like, hey, 50K a month guaranteed, it's been a slower cycle. We've been making a lot of adjustments to our strategy. So, it makes sense that it'll take time. I'll be here till I'm 96, so, you know, I have all day literally to keep adjusting, keep getting better. And we've been on the right track here this month, although today a bigger red day. I haven't lost money, right? I haven't really lost any money off my highs. Like it's like a stock chart going up and then trending sideways is how the equity curve looks. If I mean, if you really look at a stock chart, right? Like if you look at Google or whatever, you know, if the stock does a Christmas tree, then you really have a problem. So being that I have so much capital, like over the last couple of years, and we're gonna be here for so much longer, it's like it's a consolidation, is how I look at it. Like financially, there's no issues. Mentally, there's no issues. We could say there's an opportunity cost of not making money every single day, but there's always going to be an opportunity cost, right? Because even if you're green today on something, you still didn't trade something else, right? So getting into like an opportunity cost is like I think way too out there. It is way too out there. Yeah, I'll show my P&L curve here. Let me pull it up. The day is pretty much done for me, so I'll answer a couple questions on the chat for like 10 minutes and then reports, calendar, detail. Hold up, it's loading. My internet is cooked. These are our overall stats. Let's go to the calendar. This has been from 2020 to today. Well, not quite to today. We have to import. But if we go to the win-loss expectation, this is our P&L curve here. So it's been this brutal sideways consolidation right here. Well, I said this 650,000 didn't disappear. I mean, with taxes, a good amount of it definitely had disappeared into thin air, right? We're actually 6,000 off this high, um, because we weren't able to import our Guardian trades. But so this would be like 60, 670. There we go, 670 is about where we're at right now. And then minus 600 on top of that for today's red day. Although we've had, let's pull it up here. We've had some decent days. I mean, it's been a little sideways though after this. Our green days haven't been as big in this account, right? For our Weeble. So we started on Thursday of last week, or the week before the last. $82, $407, 317. Then we had our first red date there. 338, 420 on that red day. 338, then 319, then minus 166. Kept it tight there. Yesterday, which we should have been up like 1K yesterday. Yesterday was a bit of a disappointing day because of how much we lost. Like we made 600 the first like 4 minutes of the open, or maybe first 10 minutes. And it's, again, off the red to green, man. Like the stock halted down. And I, below like Christmas tree style, below like the low of day open. And I started thinking like, okay, this thing is done. And I started doing other things. And, I look back, there's a massive red to green to the highs. And I kind of like fall behind in a sense, like on my heels. So I'm not quite on the offensive anymore. Got a little on the defense. And then we ended up having two big losses on two side stocks. That main stock we didn't really lose on. Two stocks started to move up at different times. We got in, we lost like 5 cents both times with like 5,000 shares, which, and then today. So next Tuesday, we got to be sure to shore up here. But all of this, I think, is still net green or should be close to net green after today's loss, which is definitely a bigger one. I don't mind showing this stuff. Is like I've been promising to like make a YouTube video, which I have to do, but it's just that I haven't been making a lot of like YouTube content. I mean, I don't mind showing this stuff at any day, at any time. It's the real raw reality. And then like so I remember I went to this trading seminar, right? And these are guys who've already made like 3 million, 6 million, I think 7 million, and then the other one 16 as traders. And they're there telling us like it's not a matter of if but when, like there's always like slowdowns and like downturns. um like nothing for me is like a surprise because it's business. There's hotter cycles, colder cycles. Sometimes you got to make changes, you got to make adjustments, you got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and positions to grow, right? You can't be afraid of making changes and adjustments. Like the first time I attempted to change something, right, was in March. Like March, I think like end of March, the last week of March. I kind of already saw like, there's like some shifts and some changes in things. And this is after a team house. Like people were thinking like the team house is what really influenced me. It's like February month for me was slow, right? There was one day in February where like, let's go to the calendar. There was one day in February where it kind of like saved my month. It was like already a slower start to the year. And like, man, I got to make some adjustments, right? This day right here, we're up like 18,000 on this day. And if we remove this day out of this month, is really not that good of a month, you know. So even since back here, we're like noticing like, yeah, it's a little slower. We need to make adjustments towards holding longer. And January was also a good example of that. Whilst we had a green month, this month was the kind of month where like if I'm to be holding for another 60 seconds, 40 seconds, maybe let's say even like 30, 35 seconds. If I'm holding for another 35 seconds longer in my trades this month, I'd be up 120,000 on the month. Like it sounds pretty silly to say that, but that's the difference, you know? And but this month was more reminiscent of like the hotter market that we're used to. But this month was like insane momentum. I'd be out for 35 cents gain. The stock does another 180. The halt levels are so wide apart. And it's like, man, no way. Like that's how, I mean, you know, another $1.80 on your trade for a 30-second hold time is huge, right? It's trading is not really linear. It's exponential, right? Even in that type of smaller manner, it's exponential. So even January, we kind of knew like, okay, and then February, March, March at the last week of March, we tried some holding longer things. This week right here, yeah, this week, the 24th to the 31st, and the people were in like, it almost was like pitchforks. This is why you'll see a lot of traders like who are public, they'll just like leave YouTube when they're like, you know, altering their strategy because there's like a lot of noise, right? For me, obviously, I don't like read the comments as I'm going, but towards the end, like right, like I'm doing now, I'll come and like interact with the people, and it's like pitchforks and knives going out with torches, right? Like, you know, why is this guy trying this? Why is he doing that? Like, I remember I was holding with limit orders out, like, you know, trying a couple different things. Like, granted, maybe I could have used smaller size. You know, it's a red week of $700, of which we cut two trades before we were supposed to, which is even what resulted into the losses, I think, on one or two of these days. But, you know, sometimes you got to make adjustments. Today's market might not be tomorrow's market, and vice versa. And so, you know, you make adjustments, right? You make adjustments. Here's where we traded on Guardian primarily. And by the way, there's also been other things. Um, Throughout a lot of this, the platform that we were using, Thinkorswim, they wouldn't allow you to trade certain stocks. Um, certain what was the other thing? Certain stocks you couldn't trade outright. Some stocks you could only use your actual cash and not margin, meaning I think my account. Let's just well, I'm not gonna say how much my account had. Let's just say you have 30K in your account, right? Let's say you're above PDT. Once your 30K is out, you're kind of done, right? Which means if you're using 4,000 shares on a $5 stock, within like two trades, one trade, you're like out of money and you can't trade anymore on some of the hotter stocks. You know, then on top of that, accounts started getting banned. And I tried to like just leave the platform to like give myself more longevity with that, but trading on a different broker here and ultimately coming back to this broker and then getting banned. I got banned on Thinkers. I can't remember the exact date. I think maybe like right here. So I was only able to last like a month on the platform before they canned my account. I think you know, it's good to have multiple platforms for these reasons. You know, there are different things that people can try and do to maybe prolong their accounts, but ultimately it's good to have a different platform and familiarize yourself with it just to be safe. So for me now, I think it's good to have two direct access routing platforms for like extended hours, and then two for the open. That way I can have variety and that safety net. And you know, once you're familiar with trading, like the platforms aren't really that hard to learn because you're already used to what most components should be, like a P&L window, a order entry window, charts. Like you already know what all that stuff is. So you're not really starting from zero. When you go to a new platform, it's just getting familiar with where everything is located. Is like the learning curve really, which doesn't really take that long anyways. So months like October, slower months, slower months like this, then a massive red days, 3 massive red days, or 4 really. Um, no, September, slower month here as well. Slower months. For somebody who, and it's, perspective, right? For someone who might be starting out, they would love to have a month like this. But for me, if I'm to go back to 2024 and I click on like February, which was one of the hotter months, then you'll have that perspective as to why I'd be saying like, yeah, 3K in a month is like, I mean, even if you're living in a coastal state, right? If you're living in a coastal state here in America, to live really comfortably, you need a minimum of like 12 to 15,000 a month. I think is like a minimum of what you would need to really live comfortably, paying all your bills, because in these areas it's naturally going to be more expensive versus if you're more inland, which is why you'll see some traders even move because they can, you can kind of work from anywhere in the world. If you don't really have that attachment, whether it might be family or something else, maybe like properties, some people they'll move to a location where the cost of living is extremely low and their 20K a month becomes like 70K a month every month simply off of that, and then you're living a pretty like lavish lifestyle where you have the penthouse, the maids, the chefs. Colombia is one of those places. Brazil. I've seen a couple of videos where traders are like, making 10, 20K a month. They move to those areas and it's like living like a king. LFS up and halted up again. Halted up again. A lot of red days here in December of last year. At one point I didn't really like. There's different approaches that people take. Like at one point I stopped caring about red days on a month because I kind of got inspired a little bit by some of the traders in our chat room. You always want to try and be as efficient as you possibly can. But when I say I didn't care, it's not like I need to explain that because it probably sounds bad. But in terms of, hey, you manage risk as best as you could, but you got caught because you're aggressive, you're using size. We had traders making, 200,000-300,000 a month and had bigger red days, 20K red day, 50K red day, sprinkled throughout the calendar. So if you can manage as best as you can and push harder on those green days, is kind of like the mindset I started adopting. Man, what I will say though is that, a strategy, once you're dialed into a strategy, you can gain more confidence over time and become more aggressive, right? And with this type of strategy that I was trading here, if the market conditions were the exact same this year, I would have easily made over $1 million. Like it would have been guaranteed money because I remember I had this conversation with Steve, right? And that $18,000 day in February actually was an interesting day because we were talking about what we need to do to have every one of these green days be like a 10K day minimum. And it literally came down to, in the exact areas where we normally would take 3K shares, we just take 10K shares. It's literally the difference, but it's a mental thing too, right? Because there are going to be days where you're in that size on a stock that's at $10 that can go up and down $1 a share in 2, 3 seconds. And you're ultimately going to have days where you lose $10,000 in seconds. And it's sometimes hard to stomach that kind of thing when you think about it out loud, especially relative to how money is in like the world outside of trading. It's like, man, like, do I really want to lose $10,000 in that short of a time? How am I gonna feel after the trade? But you know, the reward is on the other side of the trade, and how are you gonna feel when you're up 15 and $25,000 very, very quickly? Then after that February, right? Or no, what month was that? February of this year. I think after that day, it might have been the next day that I had the chance to do it again, and I chickened out. It was on one of these 2 days here. It might have been the next day, I think. There was a setup, and I the only thing I didn't do was hit the buy button 2 more times. I kind of was just too worried about the risk, even despite having that bigger day. There was there was a trade. It's gonna be one of the bigger trades, I think. It might have been this one here. Actually, let's just double check. No, maybe not this one. What I'm remembering is like a flat top breakout. Maybe it was the other day or a different ticker. LFS, 1 minute to go for those of you still looking at that. So it might have been the other day. Maybe the 26th. It's going to be the biggest trade, which should be over 1K. This one, 29. No. This looks like a penny stock. 59,000 shares. Wait, did I have 60,000 shares? Well, looks like I might have had some size on this trade. Bro, I can't, like right now, there's no way I'm taking 60,000 shares. So there's, but it comes down to being dialed into a strategy. And, once you're dialed into a strategy and you're seeing the consistency, it becomes easy to take the size, right? There's LFS resumption at 40. There's 60 on the ask. There's a slight spread. That one is tough to trade, man. 670 will halt up over 720. You got to roll the dice on that one. It's just too much risk for me. What am I like? What am I thinking of? Like, because I remember so vividly there's a flat top breakout that I didn't take. Share size was off the charts. Oh, this is a dip and rip. Why is it? I can't understand why the share size is so aggressive. Did I say? I don't think I'd market order 10,000 shares. It's just too much slippage for what I'm thinking. If I say is 20,000 there, let me come down some more. Time. Am I missing something? Okay, I think I'm missing something because, or maybe not. There's pages here. Jeez Louise. There's no way I'm interpreting this properly. Well, looks like I am. Okay. It's not that bad of a trade. 5,000 twice. That's pretty easy to do. Okay. I thought it was like one block because then, there's just too much slippage and stuff. El Pastor. Let's dialing it in. Days like this, I tell you, man. Red 425, green 250. Like right here is where you got to stop. Right here. Worst case scenario, hey, down 425, I'm walking away. Instead, and look at this. This is one loss. Just like $1,000 loss in one trade. Just madness. Let's see. Where is it? Right here, 1,200. AMST, 3,000 shares. Oh man, look at that, bro. How did it really drop that quickly? Dang, that is brutal. High red volume. Looks like I was looking for a breakout maybe over 490 and hold up. Was that 410? What's the high here? 409. So it looks like I was long at 410 for a breakout, or did I buy it on the way down? That's another question. What's the date? February 25th. Let me go find the archive. Hold up. Let me go find the archive. Let's find the archive. 1099, 1099, 1099. February 25th. Hopefully it's not on my hard drive. $20.25. Hopefully it's on the screen because sometimes I have multiple screens. Is this is this the right day? Maybe it's not. I don't think that's the right day. Oh no, this is February. Is it 27th? Oh yeah, it's the 27th. Okay. Why is the recording short? Wait, what? 9:41. Oh, that's tragic. Why I should have had it. Let me double check. There's another one. Okay, this might be it here. AMST. Okay, at this point I'm green. Okay, let's skip ahead. I'm up $700 at one point, then back to flat. Just goodness. Where is the loss? Where is the loss? Oh gosh, bro, look at this. The depths. 250 shares. I'm going to size up here, it looks like. Okay, it looks like I was trying to break out over 410. How's it gonna go? A lot of quick scalps, of course. Oh, jeez, bro. Just not okay. Did I miss it? Oh, okay. Oh, that's what it was. You know, that's how easy you lose $1,000, right? I mean, just look at that, right? From a tightly managed day. Jeez, that man. And this is what can happen when you're using massive size to scalp, right? This is small size, 3,500 shares. If you're using like, 9,000 two, three times, down 10K, boom. That took no time at all. Let's see, one more time. There's 430. I tried to buy $4 area for a dip. Shout out to Big Steve. Big Steve will never get caught in this type of trade because he only looks at the breakout. This is rough, man. Rough. And then on a stock where I'm up 700 at one point earlier, gave back way too much. Up 655 here. And you can see I'm fishing for the breakout, right? Lots of quick trades here at 410 area. There's a bid. Will it go? Trying at 15 and 20. It needs to be instant, right? So again, with how I'm trading now, it's like just way slower, right? Less trades, not a scalpy. Right back in, right? This is kind of what I tried just now a little bit on the other stock, which is like, will the dip hold up here? Tight stop. Do we get 85, 90 at least? There's 90. I'm surprised I'm not out already, right? For a couple cents. These trades were like quick trades. So I must be thinking it should curl back up, but I don't know why looking at this. And I bought even more. Damn, this is some aggressive trading indeed. Right? My average is now 76 and I got blazed. Let's look at that one more time. So I mean, you can trade once your strategy is where it needs to be. Shout out to Marcelo right here, by the way, with the turning the corner video. All right. We got Marcelo documented turning the corner, all in the archives. This is a pretty powerful video for newer traders. If you haven't seen it already, we can play a couple minutes of it here. I might have to fix the audio though. Let's double check.
And
Let me turn it up. Hold.
TRUG. GNS.
Okay, here we go.
been trading or trying at least to trade for the last 2 years. But this is just a statement of never giving up, and this is just me trying to capture my turning point. I'm just finishing my third green month in a row, finally, with small size, proving concept.
CGTL may resume in less than a minute.
Years and years in simulator after failing every single day, every single week, every single month for 2 years. I feel certain that
WSHP may resume in less than a minute.
I know I'm not out of the weeds yet, and I know that I got to maintain myself humble with my head down and continue to work hard every single day. But man, 2022, I'm coming from you. I'm telling you, I'm so ready. I'm the best version of me ever as the person and also as a trader. This is my setup. We got a couple monitors. That's my logo. Fighting like a lion. That's all it takes to become a profitable trader. Those to become profitable and not those that are the smartest, the richest, if
CGTL
they
may
are
res
the
in 10
most
seconds.
resilient. Those are the most, or like the people that have the highest probability of becoming a profitable trader. And that's exactly what I've done. Never
WSHP
quitting,
may
never
res in
giving
10
up.
seconds.
I've hit rock bottom so many times you don't even know. But here's the thing. Just like a shining, bright, precious diamond,
FNGD.
every time that pressure is on,
CGTL.
that's gonna either make you or
UVIX.
break you. So when you're hitting rock bottom and when you're feeling lost and when you are just about to give up, if you survive that's how much closer you're getting to the finish line. But yeah, a bunch of charts, some motivational quotes, some more quotes, some Pokemon bullshit. My trading rules, fall 7 times, stand up 8. And yeah. Oh, this is Green. My plan, go figure, Green. That's his name. That little guy has been with me for the last year and a half during COVID. I spent COVID by myself here, just trading and grinding it out. And I had this planned ever since it was just a stick and a leaf on a glass of an empty coffee container with water. And now it's grown a little bit. So I feel like as the plan grows, I grow as a profitable trader. And funny enough, I mean, not funny, but the plan is dying. It's dying for some reason. I'm not great at plans. I just got it because I felt so lonely during COVID. And, a pet is too expensive. So I bought it, and it's, as you can see, starting to die out.
Bro, isn't this crazy? He's like saying a pet was too expensive. Like, how times have changed, so quickly, right? Now the mighty can go and buy 10 huskies. Insane. But it's great motivation, right? Hitting rock bottom so many times, falling down 7 times, getting back up 8. And one of the biggest takeaways there, right? It's not the person who's the smartest, the richest, the most physically capable person, but instead those who are the most resilient, those who are willing to endure and push forward even through the tough times, right? And so, we know what it is, right? So what we have to do is not forsake ourselves, right? For anybody else out there who may be still red or going through a slow period or had a big red day or, whatever it may be, you have to know to yourselves that you're greater than that and that you can become a better version of yourself, right? The good old saying. You can gain more than you've got because you can become more than you are, right? You can always gain a little bit more out of yourselves. You can demand more out of yourself. And, working hard, working smart, working with people who are also where you want to be, that's the way. Slowly and steadily. So even for me today on a bigger max loss day, I'm exactly where I need to be, right? Going through the process and continuing the journey. And we're doing it live, by the way, because, our personality was made for this. We'll do it live, Vitaly. We're doing it live. Just like we did the first time, but the second time is going to be even greater. And, as long as you can see it clearly as well, I think that's also key. If you can see yourself in the position where you are that better version of yourself, that definitely helps when it comes to having endless motivation. If you're here and you just cannot see yourself pulling it off and being a great trader, being someone that can be on the top of the hill, then you could have some problems, right? You could find yourself doubting the process and not having the motivation to continue. I don't want to say that for people who've, there's always opportunity cost. I'll say that, right? There's always an opportunity cost, but for each of us personally, we have to decide what's the best course of action for ourselves, our loved ones, and so forth. And so for me personally, everything that I'm doing is with intent, and there are reasons why I'm here, and good reasons for at that. So, it's another day in the process. The process has started 6 years ago, and the process is going to continue another 60 plus years. So, let's hear if there's any other gems. Marcelo, younger Marcelo here is dropping.
Here, but I have a feeling that this plant and green overall, it's dying on that. It's dying on that on that. I don't even know how to say it in Spanish, but it's dying. But it's dying in real life, but it's getting born into me, and I feel like Green's mission was to stick around with me long enough for me to see it grow, for me to see how time went by and how things were actually changing. Because before that, it was just me trading every single day without actually realizing how long I've come. But having him next to me, it's been like, wow, you're this long. And I remember I had you when I started trading, so it must mean that I've been trading for a while, and it must mean that I have learned a lot. So I hope he doesn't die, but if he does, he's gonna be with me, in me. And it's funny because I feel like the death of Green is gonna align with me turning the corner, and I'm gonna be with Green forever. And I'm a religious person as well, so this ties up perfectly with God. Who knows if that's God speaking to me through a plant, you know? But as I said, never quit, never give up. That's the key of trading. Because the ones who wins are not the smartest, are not the richest, but are the most resilient. You know why a stream of water can cut through a rock? Not because how strong it is, not because how much pressure it's applied to that rock, but because of the consistency of how many times that fucking stream of water passes through that same rock every single day. So trading is a game of consistency, of resilience, of being stubborn and being kind of crazy. Because losing for so long, giving up is what makes the most sense. But again, if you go based off of statistics and if you go based off what makes sense, you'll never make it anyway. And what I love about trading the most, that is the battle of you against you. So just keep on grinding it out, and remember, every time you hit a rock bottom, you're that much closer to going and getting to the end of the tunnel and hopefully seeing the light. So rock bottoms, don't see them as almost giving up, see them as a blessing, and learn from them. Learn from them, pivot, improve, work hard, and at least in a career like this, it's just you against you. It's up to you. And as much as I believe in me, I believe in you. Whoever is listening to this, so just keep at it. So I feel I'm ready. I have like a 65% accuracy, 1-to-1 profit loss ratio, and 2022. I'm telling you, it's go time. So yeah, that's just a little video of me before I get rich, I guess.
Bro, it's insane how these like videos play out. Like the mighty with some motivational words for the people. Did he do it, guys? What I don't know is how some of you guys don't know Marcelo, that are watching me like regularly. How is this possible? Did he do it? Here, I'll pull up another video for you. He definitely did it, all right. Did he do it? Actually, yeah, great video to pull up. Actually, I'll post the link as well. This one is on YouTube. So I interviewed Marcelo in person at our Arizona team house trip. Boy, did he do it. Did he do it? Okay, where is it? Okay, it's this one here. The mighty did it in style. Here, I'll post the link. But yeah, Marcelo and I, we had a nice sit down and a nice conversation here, going over his journey, his story, and how far he's been able to make it as a trader. Let me post the link here. For those of you who are interested, you can check it out after the video here. We're going to shut it down here soon.
Like my biggest win day at this point in my career has been $41,000. That is more than I was making yearly painting houses. I had one shot with this BDT.
Hold up, let me fix the volume. I know that's kind of loud. It is too loud.
Account. If I blew it, I was gone out of the game forever. So I knew that I didn't care whether if I became a millionaire now or tomorrow. What I needed to prove was that consistency. So I used to wake up and day trade from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Then I would go painting houses from 9 to 4. Right after, I would take night classes, and pretty much I was working 14 hours a day on a regular basis. Wow. I just did that for 2 years straight. I was very frugal. I was very cheap. Like, I would eat noodles every day. I would almost way too cheap.
The mighty, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to check out the video here in full swing. And by the way, we have one of these videos for all the other Team House members as well. I'm going to do a video with Crispy in the summertime. I thought about how this video could be done, and the Crispy video is going to be even better than, than the other guys. The idea I have is crazy. Shout out to Crispy, by the way, who's like 15, 20 minutes away from me. Yeah, so check out the podcast here, and every question that you might have will be answered. And let's see, I'm going to also post the Team House trip for those of you who might want to get a good sense of all the other
traders,
all the other people in the chat room that went on the trip. I refer to them as like the Team House guys, but you know, of course, they're all individuals. Tim, Drew, Save, you know, and a couple others. My brain is kind of like bogging up. Marcelo, of course. And we also had a few students there too, which was really nice. Crispy, all the guys are still trading. I mean, everyone has like multiple things that they're doing, but you know, most of the guys are still trading, or all of them really. Just so you know, the thing is, it's just not everyone loves like the YouTube stuff. Like some people are more reserved, some people are more quiet. So you know, not all the guys you'll see like uploading a video to YouTube, stuff like that. And also, like when you're making money, if we really think about what money really is, right? Most people in their own houses, they don't tell each other how much money they're making. It's almost like taboo to speak of these things, right? So, you know, even like friends and gatherings, it's a lot of times people are not really sharing how much they're making, and at some point there's like security, you know, risks and things. You got to really be like, you know, I'd say like my personality is kind of like suited to be out there, but not everyone is like that, you know, especially with the security stuff that comes along with it, you know, because ultimately there are strangers watching you, and you know, you don't know what that might mean all the time. 99% of people watching are more than likely good, hardworking people, normal people, but you could have a few bad apples here and there, right? So there's a risk of that being online and being so out there. You know, even like a guy like Ross, his channel is so big, like, you know, 2 million people, right? I mean, you know, certain things you don't even want to think about, but some people will prefer to be more reserved at times and share a little less. You know, when you're making $200 a day, it's like, okay, you'll just share it to the world. But, you know, when that becomes 2K a day and then 5K a day and so forth, it starts to become a little crazy. So, you know, you kind of like naturally become a little bit more reserved for some of these people. You might have one crazy person who'll keep sharing here and there, but it makes sense. back is finally feeling a little bit better after some much needed stretching. Um, let's see. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit and catch up. No reason to show old market moves. I mean, there's some stuff we can take away from that, right? I mean, in terms of like how much money you could lose quickly in like a flush, size relative to, you know, stop losses, things like that. There's something you can always learn, even if it's a little older video. Let's see. Yeah, the Mighty was, yeah, people were enjoying that video. I see the Mighty spitting facts. He's also Marcel is also pretty funny with how, like, it's like the motivational speech is going, and then he just is like, you know, the F word just drops in like a random moment. Like, it's pretty hilarious for me. Yeah, Vitaly, I did mention I was gonna trade 7 a.m. on the live stream, but we'll aim for tomorrow. Yeah, what is Crispy doing now? Crispy still trades Gemini. I mean, I personally don't even know if, like, I don't know. I think Save posted his monthly calendar. I think Save is like 100K a month, and then he had a 60K red month. Like, for those of you in the chat room, you'll see. If you're in the chat room, you'll be able to see. But if you're not in the chat room, you're gonna miss that stuff. Well, in terms of Crispy has a chat room as well. Yeah, Crispy does have a chat room. I mean, honestly, it's up to him where he wants to post. Like, you know, whether he posts in our chat room or in his chat room. I mean, that's up to him. Typically, when you have your own chat room, though, that's where your focus is going to be, right? Like, for me, I've been a part of other chat rooms, but I've never really posted much because you have your own chat room, right? Yeah, Crispy has a small group of guys. We all know each other. Like, I've met a couple of those guys. I mean, everyone is pretty cool. I've met a couple of those guys on previous trips. Like, we don't record, so on even on videos like where we share stuff, we don't share everything, of course, right? Because sometimes, you know, for privacy reasons, you know, some people they don't like to be on camera, which is fine. We've met a good couple of these people. They're great guys as well. Some things you just leave out of the video, you know. Let's come down some more. Oh my god. Well, you know, the Ross hate is always going to be present. It's just going to be a thing, and only Ross can speak for himself and what he's doing. You know, like his strategy and stuff like that. Whether it's Humble Trader, Ross, you know, Tim Sykes, these people like the bigger YouTubers that are traders. For me, I can only go off of like what I see. You know, and I'll dish it out to each individual trader how I see it, right? You know, it just comes down to each viewer and like who they follow, who they like. But I can only say so much because like I'm not a part of these people's curriculums, their courses, you know, in terms of like my personal experience. I could say my personal experience from watching Ross on YouTube, which I've said a million times that I like what Ross does on YouTube, right? Like in terms of the recaps, how good of a trader he is, stuff like that. But I can't really make any assumptions or, you know, but if somebody comes to me with hard proof of anybody, it could be myself, Humble Trader, or anybody in the community of traders and says, hey, here's the proof that this person did something wrong, then that person did something wrong, right? At that point, there's just nothing that you can say. But I don't like to talk, you know, negatively about people if I don't know the situation. Like, I'd have to go through each of their courses. like as a student myself, like go through their program, go through the curriculum, and then I can give an opinion on like the classes and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, like if my channel is like pretty big, it feels like it'll just happen. Like if I have like 20,000 people watching me, right? And we're in like madness markets and like I'm printing like 30K a day, like people will just start saying anything at some points. People already are saying stuff now, right? So whenever you put yourself in the space of the internet, you got to be prepared because you just have to understand psychology, right? There are going to be people who give you good criticism. There are going to be people who are just saying anything. There's going to be some ignorance. There's going to be some care. There's a lot of different emotions that'll go along with you being public, and you have to understand that, or else something as simple as words on a screen could change your mood, which should never happen, right? Like in the beginning on this channel, I used to go to war with people in the comments, like in the first like 5 months of me being on YouTube, right? I used to go to war with people like back and forth, like, and then I think just over time, like learning more about psychology and just learning about people, really, it's like, what the hell am I doing wasting this time? Like, I don't need to convince anybody of anything. Somebody could come and say the sky is pink or whatever, and like, why do I need to convince this person that the sky is blue? Like, that's just a waste of my time. Whether they think the sky is blue, green, red, for me that means nothing, right? It's like the information doesn't like do anything for me at all, So it's like it doesn't matter. It's just like a waste of time, really. But there are good comments that from time to time that are like constructive criticism, like I saw today, someone was saying like, bro, like the screen is always messed up or the audio is always messed up, right? Okay, I'm a trader first, but at the end of the day, I'm on YouTube, so I got to make sure that like the audio is not always muted and that the screen is in full screen. That's just something that makes sense. There's things that make sense and things that they don't make any sense. But if something makes sense, you have to be able to say, hey, you know what, this person, they have a good point, right? This is obviously something. And on top of that, I have no problem keeping it real, right? Keeping it real is pretty easy for me to do. Like, I don't need to hide anything or come on here and become somebody different. All that is just not who I am, and also pretty unnecessary. So it's how I'm able to show up here and trade even throughout like a store market with no issues, right? Throughout all the adjustments and things like that. No problem. No problemo. Looks like we had a lot of traders also finish red in the chat room. Hopefully we get some something in power hour. That can definitely give a lot of us a red to green here. And the time is coming where we're going to see more stocks above $1 again, just slowly and steadily, the market cycle. Hopefully we do get the Fed to lower rates some more, but the government right now a little strange in terms of the data and the shutdown we had. So even with the overall market, things are in a bit of a gray area, if you want to say. SPY down a little bit more today as we're getting a bit of a correction. It's been a good run from and time flies, but it's only been March, April, like mid-March is where we had I think, or maybe early March is where we had the big tariff war, drop off. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I had my SPY position that I sold at 580, or no, 595. I sold at 590 on the swing trades, but this thing got up to freaking 680s, and I sold at 590, $100 more share. it's like I underestimated how much we could have kept going, you know? I mean, I sold way too early, like thinking about it. Tesla, you know, I had a game plan, so I'm not really too upset about selling it at like 400. Although I could have gotten like 450, but I sold right around 400. My target was 370. You know, I sold above my target. Can't really complain on that one. Um, but the market is pretty impressive, right? And whenever we do get another real crash or pullback, you know, it'll be that much more dramatic. Now that there are more money and we've made new highs and we're much further away from the zero, from that starting point. So naturally, the moves going up and the pullbacks going down are going to be bigger naturally. So we're going to be seeing, you know, 1 trillion minus 1 trillion overall market regularly in any sort of like real short-term move down. And then when we have a bigger economic downturn, we probably got to be prepared for like 50, 60% drops, you know, easily, which is not going to be good for people's 401ks if they're going to retire in that moment, that year, or at the beginning of that recession. But as we know, until the world economy fails totally, the stock market is going to keep going up over time. So it just comes down to positioning ourselves, really. LFS trying to halt up again. If we can position ourselves during the bigger economic downturns, dollar cost averaging slowly over time. If you're doing individual companies, there's going to be more risk naturally because a company's performance can change, technology can change. You know, certain companies that were here before that were huge, you know, had competition and or just phased out, right? Sometimes things happen. So being in the overall market, for me, I think, you know, at least 70% of my portfolio has to always be in the overall market during times of economic downturn, just so my risk is limited, because the individual stocks are just too risky to have everything in one stock. I think it can work, and then when it does work, it's really rewarding. But of course, I think if we're talking portfolio, like big portfolios, it's just too risky to lose so much in one go and like actually be back at like square one. You know, that's just too much risk, man. So, and this is not financial advice. This is just, you know, the history of the market, right? Not financial advice, but instead, this is what the market has been doing for years. If we're to zoom out and look at the stock market chart. So, based off of that history and knowing that the stock market will only fail if the world economy fails, which at that point money will be useless anyways. People will be in the streets, you know, pandemonium and chaos, right? Like one of those sci-fi movies. So I'll just be doing the usual, you know, not being super aggressive early, but instead dollar cost averaging in slowly on the bigger flushes, slowly, slowly, slowly. And then when the stock market is back at new highs, just, you know, taking gains, and on top of your day trading, on top of your short-term swing trading, there's always that type of opportunities, um, you know, every now and again. And there's been some good stocks. I mean, like even, you know, I had I had some Carnival and Royal Caribbean shares as well. Carnival not so great. Royal Caribbean did much better. You know, like, you know, I mean, even the pandemic dip was like just madness. The only bad thing for me back then is that I didn't have as much cash. So this next dip should be, mm, even if it is a longer recession, you know, we kind of don't really want to see a depression because of what that would mean for the overall world economy and jobs and, you know, things like that. But whenever there's a recession, a contraction, a pullback, there's no such thing as free money or easy money because there's always risk, but there's going to be opportunity And we're right where we need to be to capture the sweet moves again. Nvidia was another nice one, right? That curled up nicely. But anyhow, it's 11:33 a.m. If you're now tuning in, we had a max loss day here of down 600 over the two accounts. We took some bigger losses here on the Webull platform on two penny stocks. The penny stocks is what really got us. A lot of the bigger opportunities came off of a red to green, where once the low on the red candle was priced in, we're back up like 3-4 cents almost instantly on those green candlesticks, making it difficult to be in lower on the pullback. And so I did take the high of those candlesticks, but sadly not able to hold longer. So selling for about a 1.5 cent gain only on average, right? Cutting the trade early. I wouldn't even say cutting the trade early, taking profits really, but we saw still another 3-4 cent move on top of that. But again, not being in lower made it a little bit difficult to hold longer into those extensions towards high of day. Because a lot of times when we bounce aggressively quickly, there's at least one pullback before the move continues. But in this situation, we had moves straight back to the highs without really red candles in there. That we got caught into a bigger flush, and we got chopped trying to buy a bit of a falling knife towards the end of the session, which essentially doubled our loss. Those two areas is what got us 300 apiece. One of them at 380 in one trade. The other one, a series of trades that led to losses that added up. So minus 600 bucks. Not the best day here. But tomorrow we'll be back again. And hopefully we can see some better action. Like yesterday was a day where we had better action relative to today, I'd say. But yeah. For those of you going till 4 p.m., I'll be here for Power Hour. I don't think I'll watch everything through and through, but for Power Hour, we'll see if there's something good. All right, I think that's about it. Take care, stay safe, stay green. If you want to continue the conversation, you can always join the chat room, which is open literally 24/7. The people on YouTube are telling me keep the YouTube live stream on all day, even though I'm not here trading. Which I actually could do that, but it's if I'm going to be utilizing this work computer, you guys don't need to be seeing all my private information, because there's going to be a day where I forget I'm on the stream or something, and I'm like showing my bank account details, and that's a whole nother story, right? I could do it at the office and then leave and go back, but it just doesn't seem like it's worth it, when we already have a chat room that you guys can be a part of. We've done multiple free trials, and I'll post a link here for anyone who's willing to join, who wants to continue the conversation. And then we're out of here. We're out like south. You guys want to hear the story of when I last left on my live stream? That was quite a day. For those of you who might still be those type of OG viewers, you'll remember. What other people might call embarrassing. I mean, I'm a human being, so now this had to have been like 2022, the last time I left on my live stream. And I was here going through. So back then I had events that I used to do in New York City, and I had my Eventbrite information open. Thankfully not everything was shown. Like there's still a lot of cash money that's generated during events. And so like only ticket sales, people saw stuff like that. I don't think they saw any like compromising passwords. I don't remember. But it was a little funny though. Like, you know, I was here like scratching my head. Like I have a hair pick. I was like here scratching my head, just talking to myself about what I want to do to, like, you know, have this event be a little bit better. Oh man. All right, though. Yeah. Catch you guys next time. All right. Stay safe. Stay green. Next time.